The ice cracked beneath Layla's knees, a sound like thunder splitting the frozen dusk. She didn't beg anymore. Her throat was too raw, her voice stolen by screaming that had done nothing to soften their hearts. Her packmates surrounded her in a half-circle, their faces carved from stone and winter shadow, and she realized with a clarity born of absolute terror that she was going to die here. "Please," she whispered anyway, her hands cradling the swell of her belly where her daughter kicked, oblivious to the doom waiting just beneath them. "Please, she's innocent. She's just a baby. It's an abomination." Marcus's voice cut through the wind, and Layla's heart shattered anew because that voice had once whispered love against her skin. Her former mate stood at the front of the group, his handsome face twisted with disgust, the mate bond between them a dead, severed thing that still ached like a phantom limb. He'd rejected her the night the pack's seer delivered the prophecy, casting her out with words that burned, "I will not father a monster." The child wasn't even his. That was the cruelest irony. Layla had been alone, abandoned, when she'd stumbled into an ancient grove during the last full moon. She couldn't remember what happened there, only waking with her clothes torn and a strange warmth in her womb that had bloomed into pregnancy within days. Werewolf gestation was swift, but not that swift. Whatever had happened in that grove had been magic, and magic, to her pack, meant corruption. The seer was clear. Elderthorn stepped forward, his gnarled hand gripping a staff topped with wolfbone. "The child will bring destruction, fire and blood, the ending of packs. We cannot allow it to draw breath." "You don't know that." Layla tried to stand, but rough hands shoved her back down. The ice groaned beneath her weight. Through the frozen surface she could see the black water below, waiting. The prophecy said she could save or destroy. There's still choice. Still hope. "We will not risk our pack on hope." Marcus crouched before her, and for a moment something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Maybe. Or just irritation. "You should never have conceived. You should have known better than to commune with powers beyond your understanding. I don't even know what happened." "Enough." He stood, brushing ice from his knees as if he'd touched something distasteful. As if she were nothing. Less than nothing. "Do it." Two pack warriors grabbed her arms. Layla fought, screaming, thrashing with the desperate strength of a mother facing the murder of her child. But she was one against many. They dragged her across the ice toward the center of the frozen lake where someone had already hacked a hole. Steam rose from it like breath, the water below churning black and hungry. "No, no, please, I'll leave. I'll go far away. You'll never see us again." Tears froze on her cheeks as they hauled her forward. Her daughter kicked frantically inside her, as if she too could sense the terror. "Please don't do this. Marcus. Marcus." He turned away. The world tilted. For a moment Layla hung suspended over the hole, staring down into the abyss, and she felt her daughter's tiny movements against her palm. "I'm sorry," she thought, the words a prayer and a promise. "I'm so sorry I couldn't save you." Then they let go. The water hit her like 1,000 knives, cold so absolute it stopped being cold and became pure agony. She gasped reflexively, and water rushed into her lungs, burning, choking, her limbs seized. Above her, through the fractured lens of the ice, she could see her packmates watching, dark shapes against the darkening sky. She tried to swim, but her body wouldn't obey. The water dragged at her clothes, her heavy belly, pulling her down into the crushing dark. Her lungs screamed, her vision spotted and blurred. "My baby. My baby." She pressed both hands to her stomach as consciousness began to slip away, holding her daughter close even as the cold stole the feeling from her fingers. If they were going to die, they would die together. She wouldn't let go. The water suddenly erupted with violence. Something massive crashed through the ice above her. Not through the hole, but through the solid surface itself, sending cracks spiraling outward like lightning. A body, huge and powerful, knifed into the water beside her. Strong arms wrapped around her waist, around her belly, and then they were surging upward with a force that defied the water's pull. They broke the surface. Air hit her face, precious and impossible. Layla coughed and choked, water streaming from her mouth and nose, barely conscious but alive. Alive. Through her blurred vision, she saw chaos on the ice. Her packmates were scattering, running, their faces masks of terror as they fled from him. The man who held her against his chest as he stood waist-deep in the freezing water was the largest werewolf she'd ever seen. Even in human form, he towered, his shoulders broad enough to block out the dying light. Dark hair plastered to his skull, and his eyes, God's, his eyes, burned gold like the heart of a flame. He looked down at her, and Layla felt something snap into place inside her chest. Something that shouldn't be possible, that couldn't be real, because she'd already had a mate and lost him. But the bond sang between them anyway, undeniable as gravity. "I've got you," he said, his voice a rumble that vibrated through her bones. Then he lifted her as if she weighed nothing and began walking toward the shore, ice shattering beneath his steps. Darkness took her before they reached solid ground. Warmth. That was the first thing Layla became aware of. Warmth so complete and encompassing that for a long, disoriented moment she thought she must be dead, and this was whatever came after. But dead women didn't ache in every limb, didn't feel the ghost of ice still burning in their lungs. She opened her eyes. Stone ceiling, rough-hewn wooden beams, the snap and crackle of a fire somewhere close. She was lying on something soft. A bed, she realized, piled with furs and blankets that cocooned her in heat. Her wet clothes were gone, replaced by a nightgown of fine linen that definitely wasn't hers. Panic shot through her. Her hands flew to her belly. "The baby is fine." Layla's head whipped toward the voice, and pain lanced through her neck. She ignored it. A man sat in a chair beside the fireplace, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, watching her with eyes that burned gold in the firelight. Him. The man from the lake. He was even larger than she remembered, built like a warrior from the old stories. All muscle and coiled strength beneath simple clothes, leather pants and a loose linen shirt that did nothing to hide his physique. His dark hair was dry now, falling around a face that was all hard angles. Sharp jaw, blade of a nose, a mouth made for cruelty that somehow didn't look cruel at all. He looked like a king. No, he looked like the king. "Odin," Layla breathed, recognition hitting her like a fist. Everyone in the werewolf territories knew of the Alpha King who ruled the northern kingdoms. The undefeated warrior. The male who'd killed his own father to take the throne. The legend who'd remained unmated for 3 centuries, spurning every female who'd tried to claim him. "That's my name." He stood, and even that simple movement held deadly grace. He crossed to her, and Layla's instinct screamed at her to run even as something deeper, something that thrummed in her blood, told her she was safer with this male than she'd ever been in her life. "Don't move too quickly, you nearly died. Your body needs time to recover." "Why?" Her voice came out as a rasp. She swallowed and tried again. "Why did you save me?" "You were drowning in my lake." He said it simply, as if that explained everything. As if kings routinely dove through ice to save complete strangers. His gaze dropped to her belly, and something fierce passed over his face. "And they were trying to murder a pregnant female. That doesn't happen in my territory." "It wasn't your territory. That lake borders both lands. The center is mine. They crossed the line when they put you in that hole." His jaw tightened. "Who are they?" "Your pack?" Shame burned through her, hot and acidic. Layla wanted to lie, to pretend she'd been captured by enemies rather than betrayed by family, But something in Odin's eyes told her he'd know. Yes. Why? It doesn't matter now. It matters. He crouched beside the bed, bringing those burning eyes level with hers. It matters because they'll likely come looking to finish what they started, and I need to know what I'm protecting you from. The casual certainty in his words, protecting you, made her throat tight. You don't owe me protection. No, he agreed. But you're in my castle, recovering in my bed, and I don't let people murder guests under my roof. So tell me, what could possibly justify throwing a pregnant female into a frozen lake? Layla closed her eyes. Speaking the words aloud would make them real in a way they hadn't been before. But he deserved the truth if he was going to shelter her. However, briefly. There was a prophecy. Silence. Then, go on? My pack's seer had a vision when she learned I was pregnant. She said my daughter would either save the werewolf kingdoms or destroy them, that she carried power that could tip the balance of everything. The words came faster now, spilling out like poison she needed to purge. The pack decided the risk was too great. Better to kill us both than chance destruction. And the father? There is no father. Not really. Layla's hand pressed against her belly again, feeling her daughter's steady movements. Still alive. Still fighting. I don't know what happened. I went into an old grove during the full moon and lost time. When I woke, I was pregnant. It happened too fast to be natural. Magic, Odin said softly. That's what they said. That I'd been corrupted by something old and dark, and my child would be a monster. She finally opened her eyes to look at him. Maybe they were right. They weren't. The absolute conviction in his voice startled her. I've seen monsters. I've killed monsters. Whatever is growing inside you doesn't feel like corruption. How would you know? He held her gaze, and the air between them suddenly felt charged, electric. Because I can feel her. Your daughter. Through you. The words didn't make sense. Unless... No, it was impossible. But the bond still sang between them, undeniable and growing stronger with every moment. Layla had felt it the instant their eyes met in the water, even through her dying panic. She felt it now, a golden thread connecting her chest to his, warm and right, and utterly wrong because she'd already been mated once. You feel it too, Odin said quietly. It wasn't a question. The bond. I was mated before. The words came out defensive, frightened. To Marcus. He rejected me, but the bond existed. I shouldn't be able to. This shouldn't be possible. Rejection severs false bonds. Odin reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of damp hair from her face. The touch sent electricity racing down her spine. Maybe what you had with him was never real. Maybe you were waiting for something else. For you? She meant it to sound skeptical, but it came out breathless instead. His mouth quirked, almost a smile. I've been waiting 300 years. I'm patient. He stood, putting distance between them, and Layla felt the loss like cold water. Rest now. We'll talk more when you're stronger. But understand this. You and your daughter are under my protection. Anyone who wants to hurt you will have to go through me first. He moved toward the door. Odin. He paused, looking back. Layla struggled to sit up, her heart pounding. Why? Why would you do this for us? You don't know me. You don't know if the prophecy is true or what my daughter might become. For a long moment he just looked at her, those golden eyes seeing things she didn't understand. Then he said, because when I felt you dying, something in me broke. Because your daughter's heartbeat sounds like hope. And because I've spent 3 centuries alone, and I'm tired of the cold. He left before she could respond, closing the door softly behind him. Layla sat in the warm room, her hands pressed to her belly, feeling the echo of the mate bond humming through her veins, and wondered if she'd been saved or if she'd just fallen into something far more dangerous than drowning. Outside the window, snow had begun to fall, blanketing Odin's kingdom in white. Somewhere in that snow, her former pack was likely plotting. Somewhere, the prophecy waited to unfold. But for now, for this moment, Layla was warm and alive and safe. It would have to be enough. The morning light filtered through the leaded windows of Layla's chamber, painting geometric patterns across the stone floor. She sat propped against pillows, one hand resting on her belly where her daughter performed lazy somersaults, the other holding a book she wasn't actually reading. Instead, she watched the door, her pulse quickening at every footstep in the corridor beyond. 3 weeks had passed since Odin had pulled her from the frozen lake. 3 weeks of slow recovery, of warmth seeping back into bones that had felt carved from ice, of her daughter's movements growing stronger as they both healed. The castle healer, a stern woman named Margit with gentle hands, visited twice daily, pronouncing Layla's progress satisfactory, even as her eyes held worry Layla didn't want to examine too closely. But it was Odin who occupied most of Layla's thoughts, and that terrified her more than the memory of drowning. A knock at the door made her heart jump. "Come in," she called, hating how breathless she sounded. The door opened, and there he was, massive frame filling the doorway, carrying a tray laden with food. The Alpha King had personally brought her breakfast every morning for 3 weeks, despite her protests that servants could manage the task. He never explained why, and she never found the courage to ask. "You're awake early," Odin observed, crossing the room with that predator's grace that should have frightened her, but instead made heat pool low in her belly. He set the tray on the table beside her bed. Honey cakes, sliced fruit, tea that smelled of mint, and something sweeter. "Margit said you needed to eat more. The baby's growing fast." "She's always hungry," Layla murmured, eyeing the honey cakes with shameless want. "I swear she's going to be enormous." Something flickered in Odin's eyes. Pride, maybe, or possessiveness. And he settled into the chair he'd claimed as his own over the past weeks. "Strong," he corrected. "She'll be strong." His gaze dropped to Layla's belly, and the tenderness in his expression made her chest ache. "Can I?" he asked every morning. Every morning, Layla's answer came easier. "Yes." Odin moved to sit on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under his weight. His hand hovered over her belly for a heartbeat before settling gently against the curve. Immediately, her daughter kicked, as if she recognized his touch, as if she'd been waiting for it. "There you are," Odin murmured, his voice dropping to a rumble that vibrated through Layla's bones. "Good morning, little one." Layla's throat went tight. She'd seen warriors, seen alphas, seen males who commanded armies without flinching. But watching Odin speak softly to her unborn daughter, his scarred warrior's hand spanning her belly with infinite care, undid something inside her. "She likes you," Layla whispered. "The feeling is mutual." His eyes lifted to hers, and the mate bond sang between them, that golden thread that shouldn't exist but grew stronger every day. "You should eat. You barely touched dinner last night." "I was tired." "You're always tired. Margit says that's normal, but—" He frowned, concern creasing his brow. "You'd tell me if something was wrong? If you needed anything? Why do you care so much?" The question escaped before Layla could stop it, raw and confused. "You saved us. You've given us shelter. But you act like we're— like you're mine," Odin finished quietly. His hand remained on her belly, warm and steady. "Because you are. Both of you. The bond knows it even if you're not ready to accept it yet." Layla's heart hammered. "I told you, I was mated before. Marcus and I—" "Marcus," Odin's voice turned to gravel. Rejected you, threw you away, and tried to murder you and your daughter. Whatever bond existed between you was false, or he never could have done those things. True mates don't betray each other. They don't abandon their females when they're carrying life. How do you know what true mates do? Layla demanded, defensive even as part of her yearned to believe him. How do you know what we have is any different? Because I've waited 300 years for this feeling, and I know the difference between obligation and inevitability. His thumb traced a slow circle on her belly, and her daughter kicked again, chasing his touch. Because when you hurt, I feel it in my chest like a blade. Because I think about you every moment we're apart, and it's taking all my control not to claim you right here, right now. Consequences be damned. Heat flooded Layla's face. Lower. Everywhere. Odin? But I won't, he continued, voice rough. Not until you're healed. Not until you trust me. Not until you want it as much as I do. He withdrew his hand slowly, and Layla felt the loss like cold water. Eat your breakfast. I'll check on you this evening. He was halfway to the door when Layla called out, Wait. He turned, golden eyes burning. Will you? She swallowed against her fear, against the voice that warned her not to trust, not to hope. Will you eat with me? I'm tired of being alone. The smile that crossed Odin's face was small, but devastating. I thought you'd never ask. By the 4th week, Layla was strong enough to leave her chambers, and Odin insisted on showing her the castle himself. She suspected he just wanted an excuse to stay close, but she didn't argue. The mate bond pulled at her constantly now, a pleasant ache that eased whenever he was near. The library stole her breath. This is... Layla turned in a slow circle, taking in the soaring shelves, the ancient tomes, the winter sunlight streaming through tall windows. This is incredible. It was my mother's favorite room. Odin stood in the doorway watching her with that intensity that made her skin prickle. She spent hours here before my father killed her. Layla's joy evaporated. Odin, I'm sorry, Don't apologize. It was a long time ago. But his jaw was tight, his eyes distant. She loved books, loved stories. My father thought it made her weak, thought any gentleness was weakness. He moved into the room, trailing his fingers along the spines of books worn smooth by countless hands. When I took the throne, I made this room a sanctuary. No violence allowed within these walls, no cruelty, just peace and knowledge. Layla watched him, this male who carried centuries of pain behind his eyes, and felt something crack open in her chest. How old were you when you lost her? 50. Young, for our kind. His hand stilled on a particular book, leather binding dark with age. She tried to protect me during one of his rages. He broke her neck and told me it was my fault for being weak, for making her soft. That's not weakness. Layla moved closer, drawn by instinct and the bond's pull. Love isn't weakness. No, Odin agreed, turning to face her. It's the most terrifying strength there is. Loving someone means giving them the power to destroy you. My mother knew that. She loved anyway. His gaze dropped to her belly. Like you do. Tears pricked Layla's eyes. I'm afraid, she admitted. Afraid the prophecy is true. Afraid I'll fail her. Afraid that wanting this... She gestured between them, at the invisible thread connecting their hearts. Afraid wanting you will doom us all somehow. Then we'll be afraid together. Odin closed the distance between them, moving slowly, giving her time to retreat. She didn't. But I need you to understand something, Layla. I've killed kings and conquered kingdoms. I've survived 3 centuries of war and betrayal and loneliness so profound it nearly drove me mad. And none of it, scared me as much as the thought of losing you. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. So yes, I'll wait. I'll give you time. But don't doubt that you're mine and I'm yours, and whatever comes, we face it together. Layla leaned into his touch, closing her eyes, letting herself have this moment of peace. Outside, snow fell in silent curtains. Inside, surrounded by his mother's books and the warmth of his hand, she let herself believe in safety. Together, she whispered. The windows exploded inward. Glass rained down as figures in dark clothing poured through the shattered windows, moving with supernatural speed. Assassins. Layla's scream caught in her throat as Odin's body slammed into hers, bearing her to the ground and covering her with his massive frame. "Stay down!" he roared, and then he was moving, shifting mid-leap into his wolf form. Layla had never seen his wolf. The massive black creature was easily twice the size of any werewolf she'd known, silver marking his chest like a crown. He hit the first assassin with bone-crushing force, jaws closing around the man's throat. Blood sprayed. More figures rushed forward. "The female! Get the female!" Hands grabbed at Layla from behind. She kicked, screaming, her hands instinctively covering her belly as someone hauled her upward. The knife appeared from nowhere, gleaming in the winter light, angling toward her stomach. Odin's howl shook the castle. He crossed the space impossibly fast, slamming into her attacker with such force the assassin's body crumpled. The knife clattered away. All around them, castle guards flooded into the library, engaging the remaining attackers in brutal combat. Odin shifted back to human form, naked and covered in blood that wasn't his eyes blazing gold fire. "Who sent you?" The assassin at his feet laughed wetly, blood bubbling between his lips. "Your whore's old pack. They want the abomination dead." He spat blood. "And they'll keep sending us until it's done. Then they'll run out of assassins." Odin's hand closed around the man's throat. "Tell them." "Odin." Layla's voice came out small, strange. She looked down. Red bloomed across her dress, spreading from between her legs. "Something's wrong." The world tilted. Odin caught her before she fell, his face gone white. "No, no, 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 Margit!" His roar echoed through the castle. "Margit, now!" Pain lanced through Layla's belly, sharp and wrong. Her daughter. Gods. Her daughter. "It's too early," she gasped, clinging to Odin as he lifted her. "She's not ready, it's too early. You're both going to be fine." But his voice shook, and Layla had never heard him sound afraid before. It terrified her more than the blood, more than the pain. "Hold on, Layla. Just hold on." He ran through the castle corridors, Layla cradled against his chest, her blood staining his skin. Behind them, she could hear shouting, the clash of steel, the meaty thud of bodies hitting stone. The pain came in waves now, each one worse than the last. Layla sobbed against Odin's shoulder, feeling her daughter's distress through their connection. "Not yet, little one," she thought desperately. "Please, not yet." They burst into the healing wing where Margit was already waiting, her face grim. On the bed. "Now." Odin laid Layla down with heartbreaking gentleness, but when he tried to step back, she grabbed his hand. "Don't leave." "Never." He knelt beside the bed, their fingers laced together. "I'm right here." Margit examined her quickly, efficiently, her expression darkening. "The stress triggered early labor. The baby's not ready. 7 months is too soon." She began pulling out herbs, bottles, implements Layla couldn't name through the haze of pain. "I can try to stop it, but you need to understand the risks. To both of them." "Do whatever it takes," Odin commanded. "Save them. Both of them." "I'm trying, my king, but—" "Then try harder." His hand tightened on Layla's, and she felt his fear through the bond, sharp and choking. "Please, please, Margit." The healer's hands moved in practiced patterns, pressing herbs to Layla's belly, whispering words in the old tongue. The pain gradually receded, pulling back like a tide until Layla could breathe again without sobbing. The contractions are stopping, Margaret said finally, relief evident in her voice. But she needs complete bed rest. No movement, no stress, nothing that could trigger this again. The next time, I might not be able to stop it. I'll make sure of it. Odin's voice was steel. No one will get near her again. Margaret nodded and began cleaning up, leaving them alone in the dimly lit healing room. Layla stared at the ceiling, feeling the ghost of contraction still echoing through her body, feeling her daughter's movements. Weaker now, exhausted from the ordeal. I almost lost her, she whispered. I almost lost our daughter. Odin's head snapped up. Our? She responds to you. She knows your touch. Layla's voice broke. She's ours, isn't she? Even though she's not yours by blood. Even though this whole situation is impossible and prophesied and probably doomed, she's ours. Yes. Odin brought their joined hands to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. She's ours. And I swear to you, Layla, I swear on my crown and my life that I will protect her. Both of you. Your former pack will never touch you again. Marcus sent them. The realization sat like ash in her mouth. He's not going to stop. The prophecy won't let him. Then I'll kill him. Simple, matter of fact. I'll kill all of them if that's what it takes. Layla should have been horrified, should have argued for mercy, for justice, for anything other than bloody vengeance, but lying in that healing room, her daughter's life hanging by a thread, all she felt was fierce, savage satisfaction. Good, she said. Odin's smile was terrible and beautiful. Rest now. I'll have guards posted at every entrance, spelled wards on the windows, everything. He squeezed her hand. You're safe here, I promise. Stay with me? The request came out small, vulnerable, everything she'd sworn not to be. Just until I fall asleep? I'm not going anywhere. He pulled a chair close and settled into it, their hands still joined. Sleep, Layla. I'll be here when you wake. She believed him. Against all logic, all her learned caution, she believed him completely. Layla closed her eyes and let sleep take her. Odin's thumb tracing soothing circles on her wrist, his presence a bulwark against the dark. Tell me about him. Odin's voice cut through the quiet of Layla's chamber where she'd been confined for 5 days since the attack. 5 days of bed rest, of staring at the ceiling, of feeling her daughter's movements and thanking the gods for each one. 5 days of Odin barely leaving her side, sleeping in the chair when exhaustion claimed him, bringing her meals, reading to her from his mother's books. 5 days of the bond growing stronger, more insistent, more impossible to ignore. Now it was deep night, the candles burning low, and Layla couldn't sleep. Fear clawed at her every time she closed her eyes, fear of more assassins, of her body betraying her again, of the prophecy claiming them all. Tell you about who? She asked, though she knew. Marcus. Odin sat in his usual chair, but tension radiated from him. Your former mate, the male who threw you into the lake. Layla's hand stilled on her belly. Why? Because you flinch when I move too fast. Because you look surprised every time I keep my word. Because I want to understand what he did to you so I never do the same. His eyes burned in the candlelight. And because I want to know exactly how much he needs to suffer when I find him. A bitter laugh escaped her. He wasn't always cruel. When we were young, when the mate bond first formed, I thought... She swallowed hard. I thought he loved me, but bonds can be false. Or maybe I was just convenient. What changed? I couldn't get pregnant. The old shame rose up, choking her. We tried for 20 years. Nothing. In werewolf culture, it's a failure. A fundamental wrongness. Other couples had cubs after 5 years. 10. But not us. Her voice dropped. He started looking at me like I was defective, started spending time with other females who could give him what I couldn't. Odin's growl rumbled low. He cheated. He said it didn't count because we hadn't managed to seal the bond with offspring, that I'd failed in my duty as his mate. Layla's hand pressed harder against her belly, feeling her daughter's reassuring kicks. When he finally rejected me, he said it was a mercy, that I should be grateful he'd wasted 20 years on a barren female. And then, you got pregnant. Then I woke up in that grove carrying a child conceived by magic, and suddenly I wasn't barren, I was corrupted, cursed, dangerous. The tears came without warning, hot and bitter. The pack I'd lived with for 70 years looked at me like I was a monster. Marcus told everyone I'd betrayed him, that I'd lain with dark powers out of spite. When the seer delivered the prophecy, it just confirmed what they already believed. That you and your daughter deserved to die. That we were a risk they couldn't afford. Layla wiped her eyes angrily. Maybe they were right. Maybe the prophecy. Stop. Odin left his chair and sat on the edge of her bed, his presence overwhelming and comforting at once. Marcus is a coward who blamed you for his own inadequacies. Your pack are fools who chose fear over compassion, and the prophecy doesn't make your daughter a monster, it makes her powerful. There's a difference. Power corrupts. Power reveals. His hand covered hers on her belly. It shows what was already inside. Your daughter was conceived in magic, yes. But she's growing inside a female who fought to survive, who protected her child with her last breath, who refuses to give up hope, even when the world tries to drown her. His voice roughened. That's what she'll inherit from you. Strength, love, ferocity. And from you, Layla whispered. What will she inherit from you? I'm not her father. You could be. The words hung between them, trembling with possibility. The bond, Odin, the bond is getting stronger. She responds to you like your pack, like I'm hers, Odin finished. Like she's mine, like we're family. Is that what you want? His thumb traced the swell of her belly, following the arc of a tiny foot or hand pressing outward. I've wanted it since the moment I pulled you from that lake. Maybe before. Maybe I felt it through the bond we didn't know existed yet. But yes, Layla, I want to be her father. I want to be your mate. I want. He stopped, jaw working. What? Layla reached up, touching his face, feeling the rough stubble against her palm. What do you want? Everything. The word came out raw. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to watch our daughter grow. I want more cubs, a dozen of them, filling this castle with noise and chaos. I want you wearing my mark and my crown and sleeping in my bed for the rest of our very long lives. His hand cupped her face, mirror to her touch. But I'll take whatever you're willing to give me, even if it's just this, sitting with you in the dark, keeping watch while you heal. Layla's heart pounded so hard she wondered if he could hear it. I'm afraid. I know. Marcus destroyed me. The pack betrayed me. I don't know if I can survive being broken again. You won't be. Odin leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers, his breath warm on her lips. I swear to you, Layla, I will never betray you, never abandon you, never make you feel less than precious. His voice dropped to a whisper. You are my mate, my queen, the female I've waited 300 years to find, and I will spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. You jumped into a frozen lake for me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You've protected us, cared for us, treated my daughter like she's yours from the beginning. I think you've already proven it. Then let me court you properly. Let me show you what a true mate bond feels like. Let me. Yes. Layla closed the last inch between them, pressing her lips to his. The kiss was gentle, chaste. Nothing like the claiming she could feel him wanting through the bond. But it was a beginning. A promise. A crack in the walls she'd built around her shattered heart. When they parted, Odin's eyes were molten gold. Yes? Yes. You can court me? Yes, I want to see what this bond becomes. Yes to... She laughed wetly. Yes to all of it, eventually. When I'm healed. When I'm not terrified every moment. When... When you're ready, Odin agreed. I can wait. You've been waiting 300 years. Then a few more months is nothing. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. Rest now. Tomorrow I'll bring you breakfast and we'll read that terrible romance novel you've been eyeing in the library. It's not terrible, Layla protested, smiling through her tears. It's a classic. It's terrible, but I'll read it anyway because you like it. He settled back into his chair, pulling the blanket over her. Sleep, my queen. Not your queen yet. Soon. Such confidence in that single word, such certainty. Sleep. For the first time in weeks, Layla slept without nightmares. She woke to screaming. The castle was in chaos. Layla struggled to sit up, her heart pounding, one hand flying to her belly. Her door burst open and Odin strode through, already dressed for battle, his face carved from stone. What's happening? Layla demanded. The witch council is at my gates. His voice was carefully controlled, but she could feel his rage through the bond. They're invoking ancient laws about prophesied children. They say your daughter falls under their jurisdiction. Ice flooded Layla's veins. No. I told them no. I told them you and the baby are under my protection, that they'd have to go through me to take you. His hands clenched into fists. They're threatening war. They have representatives from 6 allied kingdoms backing their claim. If I refuse, it won't just be my pack that suffers. How many soldiers do you have? Enough to fight, not enough to win, not against 6 kingdoms. The admission seemed to cost him. My territory is already stretched thin from border conflicts. A full war now would destroy your people. Layla's voice came out hollow. So you have to let them take me. No. Odin crossed to her in 3 strides, gripping her shoulders. No. I'll find another way. There is no other way. Tears blurred her vision, but she blinked them back fiercely. You can't sacrifice your entire kingdom for me and a child who might not even... Don't! His voice cracked. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Odin. She cupped his face in her hands, memorizing the feel of him. You have to let me go. The laws are ancient. They predate the kingdoms themselves. If you break them, you'll be branded an outlaw. Your allies will abandon you. Everything you've built will crumble. I don't care. I do. She pulled him down until their foreheads touched. I care. Your people need you. You're a good king. A strong king. I won't let you destroy that for us. So what? I just hand you over? Let them take you to some mountain stronghold and what? What will they do with you? Study me. Study the baby. Try to determine if the prophecy is real. Layla's voice shook. Keep us until she's born, probably. Then decide her fate. Our fate, Odin corrected savagely. You think I'll just move on? Find another mate? Forget about you? You might have to. Never. He kissed her hard, desperately, pouring 300 years of loneliness and longing into it. Never, Layla, do you understand? I will find a way to get you back. I will tear down mountains if I have to, but I will not lose you. Promise me something. Layla clutched at him, feeling the bond between them stretching, thinning. Promise me you'll protect your kingdom first. Promise me you won't start a war you can't win. I can't. Promise me. She pulled back to look him in the eyes. If you love me, if this bond means anything, promise me you won't sacrifice your people. The war on his face was terrible to witness. Finally, voice breaking, "I promise. Then I'll go with them." Layla pressed a hand to her belly, feeling her daughter's kicks. "And I'll survive. Whatever they do, whatever they want, I'll survive it. For her. For us. I'm coming for you," Odin swore. "I just need time to find leverage, to—" "My king." A guard appeared in the doorway, his face grim. "The Witch Council demands an answer. They're prepared to begin hostile action if—" "Tell them she'll come peacefully." The words seemed torn from Odin's throat. "But I want assurances. Magical oaths that she and the child won't be harmed, that they'll be treated with dignity, that—" "Already prepared, Alpha King." A new voice echoed through the chamber, ancient and cold. A woman materialized from shadows, her robes midnight blue, her eyes silver and ageless. "We have no interest in harming the mother or child. We merely seek to understand the prophecy and ensure the balance of power is maintained." "You want to control her," Odin snarled. "Use her daughter as a weapon. We want to prevent catastrophe." The witch's gaze shifted to Layla, assessing. "The child could unite kingdoms or shatter them. That's not a decision one pregnant female should make alone." "She's not alone." Odin moved between them, protective. "She has me. For now." The witch smiled, thin and cold. "But prophecies have a way of changing circumstances. Come, child, gather your things. The mountain stronghold awaits." Layla stood on trembling legs, Odin's hand supporting her. "How long?" "Until the child is born and assessed. Months, perhaps." The witch's expression gave nothing away. "Possibly longer, depending on what we discover." "You can't—" Odin started. "We can. We will. The ancient laws are clear." The witch's eyes hardened. "Be grateful we're offering peaceful resolution, Alpha King. We could simply take her." "You could try." The air crackled with tension, with barely leashed violence. Layla squeezed Odin's hand, feeling the bond between them singing with pain. "Don't," she whispered. "Please, let me go." "Layla, I'll be strong, I promise." She stood on tiptoe, pressing one last kiss to his lips. "Come find me when you can. But don't destroy everything for me. Promise." His arms came around her, crushing her against him, and she felt wetness against her hair that might have been tears. "I love you," he said, the words fierce and broken. "I love you and our daughter, and I will get you back." "I love you too." The words came easily, naturally, despite everything. "I love you, Odin." The witch's magic wrapped around Layla like chains of silk. Odin's arms fell away as she was pulled backward, floating toward the door. She kept her eyes locked on him, memorizing his face, feeling the bond stretching between them like a living thing. "I'm coming for you," he called as she was carried into the corridor. "I swear it, Layla, I'm coming for you." Then she was outside, the winter air biting at her skin, being loaded into a carriage wrapped in magical protections. Through the window she could see Odin standing on the castle steps, his face a mask of barely controlled rage and grief, his hand pressed to his chest where she knew the bond ached and burned. The carriage lurched forward. The castle disappeared behind them. Layla pressed her own hand to her chest, feeling the bond stretch and stretch and stretch, growing thinner with every mile. But it didn't break. Even as the mountains rose before them, even as the Witch Council's stronghold appeared like a fortress carved from ice and stone, the bond remained, thin but unbroken. She clung to that as they pulled her from the carriage, clung to it as magical restraints wrapped around her wrists, clung to it as they led her deep into the mountain, into a chamber that smelled of old magic and older stone. "Welcome, prophecy child's mother," the ancient witch said, her smile sharp. "Let us begin determining your daughter's fate." Layla pressed both hands to her belly, feeling her daughter's frightened kicks, and sent one thought down the bond to Odin, wherever he was. Come find us. Please. She didn't know if he heard, but she had to believe. She had to hope. It was all she had left. The war room fell silent as Odin's fist crashed through the oak table, sending splinters exploding across the stone floor. His beta, Garrett, stood frozen by the window, wisely keeping distance between himself and the Alpha King whose eyes had burned gold for 3 days straight without fading back to human darkness. My king, you need to… Don't. Odin's voice came out more growl than words. Don't tell me what I need. What I need is my mate returned to me. What I need is her safe in my arms instead of locked in some mountain prison while they decide if our daughter deserves to live. Odin. Garrett took a careful step forward. Your wolf is too close to the surface. You haven't shifted back fully in days. If you don't pull yourself together, I can't. The admission tore from Odin's chest. He pressed both hands flat on what remained of the table, his shoulders heaving. I can feel her, Garrett. Through the bond. She's terrified. She's alone. And every moment I stand here doing nothing, that bond stretches thinner. It's like being flayed alive from the inside. Garrett exchanged a look with the other council members gathered in the shadows. My king, there's something you need to understand about the bond you share with Layla. I know what a mate bond feels like. Not like this one. Garrett moved closer, his expression grave. I've been consulting with the oldest texts, speaking with elders who remember the ancient stories. What you and Layla have, it's not just a mate bond, it's a true mate bond. Odin's head snapped up. That's a myth. No, it's rare. Occurs maybe once in a millennium. But it's real. Garrett's voice dropped. True mates are two souls that were literally split at creation and spent lifetimes searching for their other half. When they finally find each other, the bond is absolute, unbreakable, and separation. He hesitated. Say it. Separation can kill you both. Slowly, painfully. Your wolf will eventually take over completely, trying to reach her. You'll go feral. Garrett's eyes held a sorrow that made Odin's chest constrict. I've seen the signs already. 3 days and you can barely maintain human form. Another week and you won't be able to at all. The room spun. Odin gripped the edge of the broken table, feeling his wolf clawing beneath his skin, howling for their mate. Then I don't have time for strategy. I need to go now. Tear down that stronghold stone by stone until you get yourself and Layla killed? Garrett's voice turned hard. The Witch Council has 6 allied kingdoms backing them. You attack without a plan, you'll be slaughtered before you reach the mountain, and Layla will be alone with no one coming to save her. So what do you suggest? That I just accept this slow death while she's imprisoned? I suggest you use that brilliant tactical mind of yours instead of letting your wolf run the kingdom. Garrett pulled out a leather-bound tome, its pages yellowed with age. There are laws older than the Witch Council. Ancient mate claim rights that supersede even prophetic jurisdiction. If we can prove that Layla is your true mate, not just suspected but proven, then their claim on her becomes void. How do we prove it? We call in witnesses, gather allies who can testify to the bond's nature and… Garrett's expression turned calculating. We find out who orchestrated this conspiracy, because the timing is too convenient. Layla gets pregnant with a prophesied child, her pack tries to kill her, and the moment she finds safety with you, suddenly the Witch Council invokes ancient laws they haven't used in centuries? Understanding crashed over Odin like cold water, cutting through the rage. Someone paid them. Or convinced them. Someone wants Layla and her daughter dead, and they're using the council as a weapon. Exactly. Garrett spread maps across the remnants of the table. I've had spies watching Layla's former pack. They've been moving frequently, meeting with hooded figures. 2 nights ago, one of those figures was spotted entering the Witch Council's stronghold. Marcus. The name tasted like poison. Or someone working with him. Garrett circled locations on the map. Your former mate throws you into a lake. You survive against all odds and find your true mate. And suddenly, there's a coordinated effort to separate you. The council might believe they're acting in the interest of magical balance, but I'd wager everything that someone is manipulating them. Odin forced himself to breathe, to think, to let strategy cool the burning rage. If we can prove the council was deceived, if we can expose the conspiracy, their laws become invalid. The allied kingdoms will withdraw support rather than back corruption. Garrett's smile was sharp. An ancient mate claim laws state that anyone who deliberately separates true mates is guilty of attempted murder. The council won't want that stain on their reputation. But we need proof. We need time. Garrett pulled out another document, this one covered in dense legal script. There's a provision in the ancient laws, a formal challenge period. If you issue a mate claim challenge before the council makes their final judgment on Layla's daughter, they're legally required to grant a hearing. It buys us time to gather evidence and allies. How much time? 30 days from the challenge date to the hearing. 30 days. 30 days of separation, while the bond stretched and thinned and tried to tear him apart. 30 days of Layla alone and afraid in that mountain prison. But also 30 days to build a case so strong the council couldn't refuse. 30 days to expose the conspiracy. 30 days to gather an army so formidable that even if legal measures failed, he could still tear down those mountains with his bare hands. Do it. Odin straightened, forcing his wolf back down through sheer will. Issue the challenge. Send riders to every allied pack. I want testimonies about the nature of our bond. Everyone who witnessed me pull her from the lake, who saw how she responded to my presence, who can speak to the signs of true mating. Already drafting the messages, my king. And I want surveillance on every member of her former pack. Marcus especially. If he so much as breathes wrong, I want to know about it. Odin's hands clenched. Find me proof that he's working with corrupted council members. Find me leverage. Garrett nodded sharply. And you, my king, what will you do? I'm going to call in every favor I'm owed, every alliance, every debt, every promise made over 3 centuries of rule. Odin moved to the window, staring at the mountains in the distance where Layla was being held. The council thinks they have 6 kingdoms backing them. I'll bring 12. They think ancient laws are on their side. I'll show them laws so old their precious council wasn't even founded yet. It's risky. If we fail, we won't fail. Odin pressed his palm against the cold glass, feeling the bond stretch and ache in his chest. Because the alternative is unacceptable. I will get her back, Garrett. Her and our daughter. And anyone who stands in my way will learn exactly why I'm called the Alpha King. Behind him, the council members straightened, responding to the absolute authority in his voice. This was the king who'd conquered armies, who'd united fractured territories, who'd held power for centuries through strength and cunning. This was the male who'd waited 300 years for his true mate, and the Witch Council had just made the catastrophic mistake of taking her from him. 23 days into her imprisonment, Layla had memorized every stone in her cell. She'd counted them during the long hours when sleep wouldn't come, when her daughter kicked and rolled inside her, when the bond to Odin ached so fiercely she could barely breathe. The cell was comfortable enough. A proper bed, clean water, food brought 3 times daily by silent guards. But comfort didn't change the fact that magical restraints circled her wrists, preventing her from accessing the castle's outer corridors. That thick stone walls blocked any sense of the outside world. That every 3 days, council members came to examine her, pressing cold hands to her belly and whispering spells that made her skin crawl. They were monitoring the baby, measuring her power, preparing for the moment of birth when they would take her daughter and assess her potential for destruction. Over Layla's dead body. You dropped your breakfast. Layla looked up from where she'd been staring at the floor, lost in dark thoughts. A young witch stood in the doorway, the same one who'd been bringing her meals for the past week. Unlike the older guards, this one had kind eyes and a nervous habit of tucking her dark hair behind her ears. "I'm not hungry," Layla said quietly. "You have to eat. For the baby." The witch, she'd said her name was Elena, set down a fresh tray and began cleaning up the spilled porridge. "The council won't like it if you make yourself sick. The council can burn." Elena's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Careful. These walls have ears." "I don't care anymore." Layla pressed both hands to her belly, feeling her daughter's movements growing stronger every day. 8 months now, maybe 8.5. Soon there would be nothing to wait for, and the council would take her baby, and Layla would have failed at the one thing that mattered: protecting her child. "You know what they're planning?" Elena's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "The tribunal. It's scheduled for 7 days from now. They're going to rule on your daughter's fate." Ice flooded Layla's veins. "What will they decide?" "I don't know. But I've heard whispers. Some of the council believe the prophecy is too dangerous to risk. They think—" Elena swallowed hard. "They think it would be safer to prevent the child from ever taking her first breath." "No." The word came out fierce and terrible. "No, they can't. She's innocent. She hasn't done anything. She doesn't have to. Being prophesied is enough." Elena moved closer, her expression troubled. "But there's something else. Something they haven't told you." Layla's heart hammered. "What?" "The prophecy. The one your pack's seer delivered. It was incomplete. There's a second part that the council has kept secret." Elena pulled a folded paper from her robes, glancing nervously at the door before pressing it into Layla's hands. "I found this in the archives. I shouldn't have it. I could be banished just for showing you. But you deserve to know." Layla unfolded the paper with shaking hands. The words were written in an ancient script, but she could read enough to understand. "The child of moon and magic shall walk the line between salvation and destruction. Her power will reshape kingdoms and bend the very fabric of fate. But the path she walks depends not on destiny but on choice, the mother's love or the mother's fear, the mother's strength or the mother's surrender. The mother's choice determines the child's path." "The mother's choice," Layla whispered. "It's not about what my daughter might do. It's about what I choose." "Love or fear," Elena confirmed. "If you raise her in fear of the prophecy, constantly watching for signs of darkness, treating her like a threat, that fear will shape her into exactly what everyone's afraid of. But if you raise her in love, if you show her strength and hope and trust, she'll become something else." Understanding crashed over Layla like a wave. "The prophecy's power lies with me, not with the council, not with anyone else. Me. That's why they kept it secret." Elena's voice turned bitter. "The council doesn't want you to know you have power. They want you to think you're helpless, that your daughter's fate is predetermined. That way you'll accept whatever judgment they pass without fighting back." Rage kindled in Layla's chest, hot and fierce. "How long have you known?" "I found the document 3 days ago. I wanted to tell you sooner, but the older guards, they would have stopped me. This is the first time I've been alone with you." Elena gripped Layla's hand. "There's more. Your mate, the Alpha King, he issued a formal mate claim challenge. He's demanding a hearing based on true mate laws." Odin. The bond in Layla's chest flared with sudden warmth, as if responding to his name. "Is he coming?" "The hearing is in 7 days, same day as the tribunal. I think he planned it that way, forcing the council to deal with both matters simultaneously." Elena's expression turned worried. "But Layla, you need to understand. Even if he proves the true mate bond, the council might still rule against your daughter. Ancient laws are complicated, and there are factions here who want the child destroyed regardless. Then I'll fight them. You can't. The magical restraints? I'll find a way. Layla stood, pacing her small cell with renewed energy. Her daughter kicked vigorously, as if sensing the change in her mother's determination. I've been passive too long, waiting for rescue, waiting for someone else to decide my fate. But that prophecy, Elena, it says the power is mine. The choice is mine. But what can you do from inside a cell? I don't know yet. Layla pressed her hand against the stone wall, feeling the thrum of ancient magic that permeated the stronghold. But I have 7 days to figure it out. On the 6th night, they came for her. Layla jerked awake to rough hands hauling her from bed, magical bindings wrapping around her arms and legs. 3 council members swept into her cell, their faces hidden beneath dark hoods. "What are you doing?" Layla struggled against the bonds, her heart racing. "The tribunal isn't until tomorrow." Plans have changed. The lead council member's voice was cold, feminine, ancient. "We've decided not to wait for the child's birth. Too much uncertainty, too much risk." "No." Terror flooded through Layla as they dragged her from the cell. "No, you can't. She's not ready. It's too early." "Early births can be induced. We have the magic." Another council member produced a vial filled with swirling silver liquid. "This will trigger labor within minutes. The child will be born, assessed, and dealt with before your mate's hearing even begins." "You're going to kill her." The truth hit Layla like a physical blow. "That's what this is. You've already decided. You're going to murder my daughter." "We're preventing catastrophe. There's a difference." They hauled her into a circular chamber carved from black stone, symbols etched into every surface pulsing with sickly green light. An altar stood in the center, and Layla understood with horrible clarity what they intended. She would die on that altar. Her daughter would die. And Odin would arrive tomorrow to find them already gone. "Please." Layla's voice broke as they forced her onto the altar, magical bonds pinning her down. "Please don't do this. She's innocent. She hasn't done anything wrong." "She doesn't need to." The lead council member uncorked the vial, the silver liquid within seeming to writhe with its own life. "Prophecies are tricky things. Better to end them before they begin." She tilted Layla's head back, bringing the vial toward her lips. And something inside Layla broke. Not broke like shattering, broke like a dam bursting, like chains snapping, like power that had been sleeping for generations suddenly roaring awake. Heat exploded through her veins, silver fire that burned away the magical bonds like paper. "No," Layla said, and this time her voice carried weight that shook the stones. "You don't get to decide my daughter's fate." The council member stumbled back as Layla sat up, the restraints falling away like ash. Silver light blazed from her skin, from her eyes, from the marks that suddenly appeared on her arms, ancient symbols that matched the ones carved into the chamber walls but pulsed with opposite energy. Where the chamber's magic was sickly green corruption, hers burned pure silver. "That's impossible," the council member gasped. "You have no magic. We tested you. You're just a werewolf." "I'm a mother," Layla corrected, standing from the altar on legs that shouldn't have supported her, but felt suddenly, impossibly strong. "And my daughter is under my protection." Power flooded through her, and with it came understanding. This was her bloodline, something ancient that had skipped generations, waiting for the right moment to manifest, waiting for a threat great enough to trigger the awakening. Her daughter's potential murder qualified. "Stop her!" the council member shrieked, but Layla was already moving. She swept her hand and the chamber door exploded outward, stone and magic shattering. Guards rushed toward her, but her power threw them back with casual force. She could feel every magical barrier in the stronghold now, could sense the wards and locks and hidden protections, could feel exactly where each one could be broken. "The mother's choice," Layla said, silver fire dancing around her fingers. The prophecy said the mother's choice determines the path, and I choose to fight. She ran. Behind her, alarms began to sound throughout the stronghold. Ahead, corridors twisted in impossible directions, but Layla's awakened power guided her unerringly toward freedom. Guards appeared and she scattered them with bursts of silver energy. Barriers rose and she tore through them like spiderwebs. Her daughter kicked frantically inside her, responding to the power, to the desperation, to the fierce maternal love that burned brighter than any magic. Hold on, Layla thought, pressing a hand to her belly as she ran. Hold on, little one. We're getting out of here. The stronghold's main entrance loomed ahead, massive doors sealed with centuries of protective magic. Layla could feel the weight of it, the complexity, the absolute certainty that she shouldn't be able to break through. She hit the doors anyway. Silver fire met ancient wards in a blast that shook the mountain. The doors held for a heartbeat, two, then exploded outward in a shower of splinters and dissipating magic. Night air hit Layla's face, cold and clean and free. She staggered into the courtyard, her power flickering as exhaustion pulled at her. Behind her, council members poured through the destroyed entrance. Surround her! Don't let her escape! But Layla wasn't trying to escape anymore. She was buying time, because she could feel him now, feel the bond blazing to life like a beacon. Odin was close, impossibly close, racing toward her with an army at his back. Come on, Layla whispered, silver fire dancing around her hands as council members closed in. Come find me. The mate bond sang between them, stronger than ever, calling him home. And Odin answered. The mountain itself seemed to shake as his roar echoed across the peaks. Then he was there. A massive black wolf larger than any natural creature, silver marking his chest like a crown, crashing into the courtyard with the force of an avalanche. Behind him came an army, allied packs, their wolves flowing like a tide, and others, creatures of magic, witches with their hands blazing, even several council members whose faces showed horror at what their colleagues had attempted. But Layla only had eyes for Odin. He shifted mid-leap, landing in human form between her and the hostile council members, naked and magnificent and absolutely furious. The bond between them flared so bright it was visible, golden light streaming from his chest to hers, pulsing with power that made the very air shimmer. Anyone, Odin said softly, dangerously, who touches my mate will die screaming. The Alpha King has no authority here. The lead council member tried, but her voice shook. This is council territory. This is a conspiracy. Garrett emerged from the army carrying documents that blazed with truth-telling magic. We have proof that certain council members conspired with Layla's former pack to have her and her child murdered. Proof that you've been manipulated by those who fear the prophecy for personal reasons rather than legitimate concern. Marcus stepped forward then, his face twisted with rage, and Layla's blood turned to ice. She's carrying an abomination. The prophecy. The prophecy. Another voice rang out. Elena, the young guard, her face pale but determined, has a second part you all kept hidden. A part that says the mother's choice determines the child's fate. You had no right to make that judgment. The courtyard erupted in chaos. Council members shouting, wolves snarling, magic crackling through the air. But Odin moved through it all like a force of nature, reaching Layla in 3 strides and pulling her into his arms. The moment they touched, the bond exploded. Pure energy burst from where their bodies met. Silver and gold intertwining, blazing so bright everyone had to shield their eyes. It wasn't destruction. It was creation, completion, 2 halves finally made whole. And in that blast of power, everyone present saw it. The truth of the prophecy, laid bare by the completed true mate bond. Layla's daughter, born of moon and magic, her power capable of bridging the gap between werewolf and witch. Not to destroy, but to unite. Not to bring war, but to end it. To create a future where the two peoples could work together instead of eyeing each other with suspicion across careful borders. But only if she was born of a true mate bond. Only if she was raised in love rather than fear. Only if her mother chose hope. The vision faded, leaving the courtyard in stunned silence. Odin's arms tightened around Layla, his face buried in her hair. "I've got you," he whispered. "I've got you both. You're safe now." "I know." Layla's legs gave out, but he caught her, supporting her weight easily. "I knew you'd come. Always." He pulled back just enough to cup her face, his eyes blazing gold. "Are you hurt? Did they harm you?" "Our daughter." "We're okay. Scared, but okay." Layla pressed her hand to her belly, feeling their daughter's relieved movements. "She's strong. Like her father. Like her mother." Odin kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. "Gods, Layla, when I felt your power awaken through the bond, when I realized what they were trying to do. But you came in time. I should have come sooner. Should never have let them take you at all." "Stop." Layla touched his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "You did what you had to. You saved your kingdom, and then you saved us. That's all that matters." Around them, the chaos was settling. The allied alphas Odin had brought surrounded the conspirators, Marcus and 3 council members whose faces showed guilt and fury. The other council members backed away, their expressions varying between shock and relief. "The ancient laws are clear," Garrett announced, his voice carrying authority. "A proven true mate bond supersedes all other claims. Layla and her unborn child belong under Alpha King Odin's protection. Any who conspired to harm them have committed attempted murder and will face appropriate justice." "You can't prove conspiracy," Marcus snarled, but his eyes held desperation. "We can, and we have." One of the rebel council members stepped forward, a woman with silver hair and kind eyes. "I've been investigating the irregularities for weeks. The prophecy was deliberately misrepresented, its second part suppressed. Certain council members were paid by Marcus's pack to issue the seizure order." Her gaze hardened. This was never about protecting magical balance. It was about one male's wounded pride and fear of what he couldn't control. "She was mine first." Marcus lunged forward, but allied wolves blocked his path. "I had claim before the Alpha King ever touched her. You rejected her." Odin's voice cut like a blade. "You threw her away, tried to murder her, and then conspired to finish what you started. Whatever claim you once had died the moment you betrayed your bond. The child is still an abomination." "The child," Layla interrupted, her voice ringing with unexpected power, "is mine, and I choose love. I choose hope. I choose to raise her knowing she's wanted and protected and cherished." She met Marcus's eyes, feeling nothing but pity for the male who'd once been her mate. "You were afraid of what she might become, but the only thing she'll become is exactly what I teach her to be. And that will never be a monster." Marcus's face contorted with rage, but before he could respond, Garrett gestured, and guards moved to restrain him and his conspirators. "They'll face trial," Garrett said. "But for now, I think we've had enough excitement." His eyes moved to Layla with concern. "You need rest. Using that much power when you're this pregnant—" "I'm fine," Layla started, but a sudden contraction cut off her words. Odin caught her as she doubled over. "Layla, I think—" Another contraction, stronger than the first. Layla's water broke, warm liquid soaking her dress. "Oh. Oh no. Odin, the baby. She's coming." "Now?" Panic flashed across Odin's face. "But we're on a mountain. There's no healer, no—" "I'm a healer." The silver-haired council member moved forward quickly. "And several of the witches here have experience with births. We can help." You expect me to trust you? Odin snarled. The corruption was limited to a few members. Most of us genuinely believed we were protecting magical balance. Her expression turned gentle. But we were wrong, and we owe Layla and her daughter, safe passage into this world. Please, let us make this right. Layla groaned as another contraction hit. Odin, I don't care who helps. It hurts. She's coming and I'm not ready. Yes, you are. Odin scooped her into his arms, carrying her toward the stronghold's entrance. You're the strongest person I know. You faced down corrupt council members, awakened ancient magic, and fought your way to freedom. If anyone can do this, it's you. I'm scared. I know. But I'm right here. He kissed her temple as he carried her inside. And I'm not going anywhere. 3 months later, Layla stood at the window of Odin's, their chambers, watching snow fall over the kingdom in gentle curtains. Behind her, the fire crackled warmly, and in the cradle beside the bed, their daughter slept peacefully, tiny fists curled against her chest. You're going to wake her if you keep staring like that, Odin murmured, appearing behind Layla and wrapping his arms around her waist. I can't help it. Every time I look away, I have to check that she's still real, still here, still safe. Layla leaned back against his chest, feeling the mate bond hum contentedly between them. Sometimes I still can't believe we survived everything. We didn't just survive, we won. Odin pressed a kiss to her neck. Marcus and his conspirators faced justice. The corrupt council members were removed from power, and we proved that the prophecy was never about destruction. It was about choice. Our choice. Layla turned in his arms, looking up at the male who'd saved her, fought for her, and ultimately given her a family she'd never dared dream of having. To choose love over fear. Always love. Odin cupped her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. Though I admit, I'm curious to see what she becomes. Our daughter. Their daughter. The words still sent warmth flooding through Layla's chest. The bonding ceremony 3 months ago had been beautiful, witnessed by all the kingdoms, werewolf and witch alike, symbolizing the new alliance their daughter represented. Odin had claimed Layla as his queen and true mate, and she'd finally allowed herself to believe in the impossible, in safety, in love, in forever. Did you see her eyes this morning? Layla asked softly. Hard to miss. Odin's expression held wonder and pride in equal measure. One gold like mine, one silver like yours. I've never seen anything like it. The healer says it's a sign that she carries both our powers, werewolf and awakened bloodline magic. Layla glanced at their sleeping daughter, this tiny, perfect being who'd been prophesied to change everything. She's going to be extraordinary. She already is. Odin's hand found Layla's, their fingers lacing together. But she's also just our daughter. And whatever power she carries, whatever destiny awaits her, she'll walk that path knowing she's loved. That's what matters. A tiny cry came from the cradle. Layla moved to lift their daughter, cradling the warm weight against her chest. The baby's eyes opened, one gold, one silver, and fixed on her parents with startling awareness. Hello, little one, Layla murmured. Ready to face another day of being impossibly loved? The baby made a soft cooing sound, her tiny hand reaching up to grab Layla's finger. Odin moved close, his massive frame curving protectively around his family, and Layla thought about the journey that had brought them here. The frozen lake, the desperate drowning, the unexpected salvation. Do you ever think about it? She asked quietly. That moment when you jumped in after me? What made you do it? I felt you dying. Odin's voice roughened with remembered fear. Through a bond I didn't understand yet. I was in my throne room, dealing with some tedious border dispute, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I could feel cold water in my lungs even though I was nowhere near the lake. His arm tightened around both Layla and their daughter. I shifted and ran without thinking. All I knew was that my mate was dying and I had to reach you. You didn't know I was your mate. Not then. My soul knew. The bond knew. He pressed a kiss to the top of their daughter's head. 300 years I waited, and the moment you needed me, something inside me recognized you. Even before our eyes met. Even before we spoke. Layla blinked back tears. I was so afraid. Of trusting again. Of believing this could be real. And now? Now I'm just afraid of being too happy. She laughed wetly. Like the universe will realize it made a mistake and take this all away. The universe, Odin said firmly, had better not try. I'll fight the gods themselves before I let anyone take my family from me. Their daughter yawned widely, her mismatched eyes already drifting closed again. Layla carried her back to the cradle, tucking soft blankets around her tiny form. Outside the window, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the kingdom in peaceful white. She's going to do great things, Layla whispered. Our daughter. Unite kingdoms. Bridge the gap between werewolf and witch. End centuries of conflict. Eventually, Odin joined her at the cradle, both of them watching their daughter sleep. But first, she's going to learn to crawl and talk, and probably give us heart attacks when she discovers she has magic and starts making things float when she's angry. Layla laughed, the sound surprised and joyful. We're going to be terrible at this, aren't we? Parenting the most powerful prophesied child in werewolf history? Absolutely terrible. Odin pulled her close, his chin resting on top of her head. But we'll figure it out together, just like everything else. Together. The word held weight now, held promise, held a future Layla had stopped believing in when her pack threw her into that frozen lake. I love you, she said quietly. I never thought I'd be able to say that again, to anyone. But I love you, Odin. I love you too. His arms tightened around her. My mate. My queen. My salvation. They stood together in the firelight, watching their daughter sleep, feeling the mate bond sing contentedly between them. Outside, the world continued to turn. Kingdoms needing ruling, alliances needing maintaining, the constant work of being alpha king and queen. But for now, for this moment, Layla allowed herself to simply exist in the peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. To be warm and safe and surrounded by family. To be loved and to love in return. To be home. Their daughter stirred, making a small sound of contentment, and both Layla and Odin smiled. Whatever challenges awaited them, whatever the prophecy ultimately meant, they would face it together. And that would be enough. More than enough. Everything.